What is up, YouTube? It is DEFCON TCG versus my local league, episode number 3. And this week I'm going to be playing Jelly Gardy. For some reason, there's, 3 Iono here and 1 Iono here, but it is 4 Iono. Not sure why they're different arts in the paste spin. I just realized that. But yeah, Jelly Gardy is pretty similar to the list that won LAIC. I really did like the double charm plus Drifloon to be able to kind of do everything that Gardy wants to do. You want to have the aggressive item lock with the Frillish, but also be able to hit those big numbers with the Drifloon. I think that now with the Mega Diancie, there is definitely a argument for Drifloon versus Diancie. So if I play this deck again, I will probably end up switching out Drifloon for Diancie just to have like that beefy attacker and has a ton of HP. So there's definitely upsides and downsides to both, especially the Diancie's very, very good into the mirror match. So yeah, this is the list I played. Honestly, pretty happy with it. I think I used every single card. It's just kind of Guardy. You want to be able to kind of have this little psychic toolbox of attackers, and yeah, the deck was very, very good. I was impressed.
I'll go with Tails if you want to roll it.
All right, so getting into turn 1 of this round 1 game, my opponent is playing Eevee Box. So I assumed it was Terror Box at first, and I saw the pitch. I was like, okay, maybe it's Eevee Box. There's a good chance this is just Emma's list. And my opponent gets a pretty good start here with the Fan Rotom plus the 2 bench Pokemon. And now that Fan Rotom is going to be able to probably grab some Noctowls to be able to facilitate this Torrential Pump going into the following turn. Now, this is really scary as Gardy if your opponent gets like this plus an energy attachment, because then on the following turn they can go for something like Noctowl for the boss's order plus the crystal if they have another energy attachment. Luckily, it's a pretty insane combo to have turn 2, so usually you won't see that very often, and your opponent's going to kind of just settle for the torrential pump. All right, we get into my turn 1. I'm going to play a Mystery Garden and then attach energy to my Clefairy. I wanted to maximize the amount of outs I had to getting the Ralts and the Curlius, so if I draw a bunch of Pokemon here, I can use the Mysterious Garden and draw some more cards. I think unfortunately here, I do not get a lot of Pokemon to put down. Thankfully, I do get Ralts and Frillish, but I think I just have to pass on that and kind of hope my opponent doesn't have the energy attachment and the boss, but I think my opponent has a slight miscalculation on this turn because my opponent did say that they wanted to get the Torrential Pump to knock out 2 one-prize Pokemon. They didn't want to go in an odd prize trade, but just kind of looking at what my opponent does here, they're going to search Sparkling Crystal and evolve into Flareon, but they attach an energy to the bench Flareon and go for the Sob. I think this play is a bit underwhelming, I would say. I think this is a flub for my opponent here to attach the fire energy. I think if you just go crystal, attach fire to active, I put 100 on Clefairy and then knock out the Ralts, it puts a lot of pressure on me on the following turn to use my Clefairy to knock out this Ogerpon, and then you're still in a fine spot because now this Clefairy is going to have 100 damage on it, so then the Burning Charge is going to be able to knock it out and set up your next attacker, while I still don't have a Gardevoir on the board. But unfortunately here for my opponent, I just have Rare Candy Gardevoir, plus the attach or plus the knockout on this Ogerpon, so a huge swing in my favor because now even on this following turn, the Burning Charge isn't going to be able to knock out my Clefairy, so my opponent has to go for a Carnelian to knock it out. So I think attaching the Crystal to the active is also a pretty bad misplay as well, because on this turn, if my opponent were to go attach plus Carnelian, and then they have the knockout in Clefairy, unfortunately that would give me a follow-up with something like a Mew-EX to knock out Flareon, but you kind of just have to play from where you are. The Glass Trumpet onto the EVEX set up for another attacker for the following turn. And we see the energy switch on a Black Belt, which is actually a super cool play from my opponent here. So the Carnelian, or not the Carnelian, the Burning Charge is going to do 130 damage, plus the 40 from the Black Belt is going to do 170, plus the 20 damage that I already had on my Ogerpon is going to take a clean knockout while being able to attach energy. So I think there's a pretty crazy difference between turn 1 and turn 2, where I think turn 1 was played relatively poorly, but then turn 2 was played like very expertly. So I would have liked to see my opponent play a little bit better on that turn 1. I think it could have turned into a better overall game for them because I do think they're still behind here because now we're both at 4 prizes, but now it's going back into the Guardy player's turn. And now that I have access to 2 energy, all I need is that Mew-EX plus another energy to be able to take the knockout into this Flareon. And so I promote the Monkey Dory because I don't have a Dark Energy attached, and the chances are I'm going to have to attach to a Mew-EX. I don't believe I have any discard outlets in my hand, so I think I just Oh, actually, I think I tapped like Vessel here. So I Vessel away my Iono, and then I draw 3. I'm hoping for a discard outlet, and I'm pretty sure I don't end up getting it. But then, yeah, I'll use the Artisan here. I attach the Dark Energy to the Monkey Dory, and I guess I draw Ultra Ball off of the Fez, which is pretty crazy. And then that allows me to go into the Mew here. I get another Ralts just in case, and then I play this Lilies to draw 6 brand new cards, refill that hand. Hopefully I'm able to get another Dark, another Monkey for next turn. I'm also looking for potentially like a Drifloon plus a Charm to be able to take the final knockout. And I'm going to just retreat here into Mew, slap 3 energy onto my Mew, and throw 3 damage counters onto that bench Pidgey. So on the off chance my opponent doesn't evolve it next turn, then I am able to pretty much just secure the game there. My opponent doesn't have any Noctowls to work with. They do just have the 3 draws off the Pheasantipity, so I think it's like relatively unlikely that they don't get the Pidgeot. But my opponent has a pretty massive hand. Maybe there was some merit to keeping my Iono in hand the other turn to be able to Iono my opponent down a little bit lower. But they actually just do have the rare candy Pidgeot in hand, which is it's like whatever. I think in the place that I'm at right now, it's like so in my favor to win the game because my opponent here is going to need an additional energy card plus an evolution. And it's not super crazy to be able to get that now that they have the Pidgeot on the board. So either like a Night Stretcher or something like that is going to be able to get used. But actually, we just see the Jet Energy plus the Bear. And I have a lot of outs to win at this point. I can get Balloon plus Bravery Charm. I can get the Mew EX. I don't believe that I can knock out with the Clefairy at this point. But yeah, I just get the 5 energy on the Drifloon, hit him for 300. And then that's going to be the game.
If you beat me, I'm taking my deck back. I'll just take it.
All right, we get into the next game here, and I'm going to hit my buddy Gage, who's actually just playing my buddy deck that I played for the first installment of these videos, and he has a pretty tough decision here. He has an Ultra Ball, but his hand is Jet Energy plus Iono and the Mega Lopunny and an Iono, so you definitely need to keep the Iono for the following turn to be able to just draw more cards, but I think he's debating getting the Fan Rotom here. I told him after the game, looking at his hand, I think his best play was probably to hold that Duskull in the hand because he doesn't have an access to like Rare Candy Duskull on the following turn. So just keeping the one Duskull in the active is probably fine. If I were him, I probably would have Ultra Balled away the Duskull and the Mega Lopunny, grab Fan Rotom, and then Fan Rotom can grab a Baneri, a Pidgeotto, and probably just another Baneri. So that way your bench looks like Duskull, Pidgey, Baneri, and Fan Rotom. And then you could even search out the Ditto to be able to get the Kangaskhan, just jet up the Ditto into the active, sack it for Kangaskhan, draw 2 more cards, and then you have a pretty solid board. But I think they wanted to maybe keep the Ultra Ball for the Rare Candy Pidgeot. Unfortunately for him, I get a pretty high roll here, and I Lilies into Vessel plus Air Balloon to be able to get the turn 2 Oceanic Gloom. And this basically just makes Gage's hand terrible. Now with the additional item lock, he's not able to get the Rare Candy Pidgeot play, and without that Kangaskhan in the active, he's kind of forced just to slam this Iono here, because the rest of his hand is now unplayable with 3 items, so yeah, getting that turn 1 item lock was pretty insane, and yeah, we just kind of talk about the hand, we're just like, maybe I should have Ultra Balled for the Fan Rotom to kind of get the Kangaskhan out and stuff, so yeah, I think that definitely would have been a good play from him, because his board would have been active Kangaskhan, and then Pidgey, Duskull, Fan Rotom, at least one Baneri. You didn't really have to play both. And then this Pidgey would be a Pidgeotto on this turn, which is pretty nice. So then, on the following turn, if he's able to, play another draw supporter, or even if I Iono, because now it's more likely that I play an Iono than any other supporter in my deck. And let's see, I'm able to get the turn 2 Jellicent into the Dark Energy, and then it looks like my hand's kind of dead. I'm going to be able to just draw 1 card with this Mew EX, and I don't believe it's anything super relevant. So yeah, just to get that attack down. And let's see what my opponent wants to do. I think they're debating maybe going for the Call for Family on their turn. But yeah, with this Jellicent the active, it is really rough to just kind of do anything. And as Gage gets the Prime Catcher in his hand, it's not really the greatest card ever because, I have that Jellicent the active. It's going to turn off his items, and his hand's pretty dead. He does get that Kangaskhan here, or the Cypher Maniacs, which, again, like if you were to get that Kangaskhan turn 1, the Cypher would pair really well because that Pidgey would be a Pidgeotto, and then he could use that Pidgeotto, stack Pidgeot, and then a draw supporter maybe. You could stack like Iono plus Pidgeot. use the Iona draw to Pidgeot, evolve it to Pidgeot, and then probably get the Baneri attack turn 2. And it's not super crazy, like, off that Iono to either, like, draw one of the bunny pieces or the Dusclops, because then on that turn you could go Baneri into the Megalope Bunny, attack into Jellicent, do 230, and then if you have that Duskull down as well, you should be able to do 300 damage or 280 damage. You're gonna be able to knock out the Jellicent. And yeah, I think I top deck the Lilies there after going Evolve into Kirlia, attaching their energy to Jellicent. I want the Jellicent to eventually just do 160 damage because it's just really strong numbers into this deck. It's gonna allow me to basically two-shot everything. Be able to knock out Pidgey there, which is like really, really bad for Gage. But he's gonna top deck that Lilies. And he was like, well, I was trying to find a way to draw that other card that I stacked. I was like, well, if you would have stacked the Pheasantipity, you could have Pheasantipitied into the Lilies, and then maybe those other two cards aren't super meaningful, but just being able to have a Pheasant play is really nice at this point in the game, because more than likely this Duskull is going to have to get sacked, because with me at 4 prizes, it's a pretty low odds that you're going to want to even use a Dusknoir at this point, unless you're wiping out kind of either my one Kirlia, like if you're able to get a knockout onto Kirlia, and then use the skulls to be able to get one more knockout. It looks like Gage draws the Pidgeotto here, which is pretty unfortunate. There's nothing like super crazy here, but he does high roll into this Megalope Bunny plus the energy, which is really nice. So he's able to get some damage onto my Megalope Bunny here, which is really nice. Or his Megalope Bunny is able to get damage onto my Jellicent. And I only have one Monkey Dory in play, so I can only move 30 damage over. So if I do move 30 damage onto Duskull, then Gage can just simply evolve to avoid getting knocked out, because more than likely this Megalope Bunny is not getting knocked out this turn. I would have to find like energy plus retreat plus 5 energy on Drifloon, and then it does make me a little bit more susceptible to that Dusknoir, because then he's able to go, 5 damage onto the Drifloon, and then if he has something like a boss's order, he would be able to KO my Jellicent and my Drifloon, taking a cool 3 prize turn. But then I would go down to 3 prizes, and then if I have the 1-hit KO on Megalope Bunny, the game's over, which is not very likely because I do have the Air Balloon on my Drifloon, so I'm not able to attach a Bravery Charm to it and do a ton of damage. But yeah, I see the Jet Energy into Pheasantipity, and then the Iono. This is going to reset the Megalope Bunny. Unfortunately for me, because I want to attach extra energy to Jellicent to do extra damage to the Megalope Bunny, I am only at 50 HP left, so if Gage does have an out to the Dusknoir, do get knocked out here. But yeah, I'm able to just he's able to take the knockout into my Jellicent. I just promote Gardy, and then I'm able to just win here because I can attach 2 energy to Gardevoir with my ability Psychic Embrace. And then I don't know why I'm counting here, like if Clefairy really matters. I think that's what I was looking for, but I just want to make sure that I have enough damage. It's always better to be safe than sorry, so sometimes overkill is better than not getting the kill right. So yeah, attach 2 energy to Gardevoir, and then I'm going to go into the Mew, and then put 3 energy on Mew to copy Gale Thrust, and then I'm able to use the Monkey Dory to knock out.
$20 a piece. 2 alternative what? ETBs for $20 a piece. Oh, nice.
All right, going to the next game, I hit the local legend, Johnny himself, playing the Ethan's Typhlosion deck. And my opening hand is pretty good here. I'm able to slam this Secret Box turn 1. Unfortunately, I have to get rid of a Bravery Charm, which doesn't matter a lot in this match because a lot of your 1 prizes you'll be able to trade with the Ethan's Typhlosion. But unfortunately, the Bravery Charm does allow you to take big knockouts on your opponent's EX Pokemon. So if your opponent's playing like Zoroark EX or Pidgeot or Pheasantipity, it allows you to take those big 1-hit KOs. So unfortunately for me, I do lose that Bravery Charm early, but I'm able to kind of get the full combo here of evolve my Mew into Ralts. I think maybe I could have pushed for an additional, a different attacker in the active, just kind of bench another Pokemon. Just so that this energy wasn't stuck on Mew, because it actually does matter later in the game that I'm have an energy stuck there. Unfortunately, I mean, I led Mew, which is really nice. I think maybe there's also an argument to go for the Oceanic Gloom play here, because I did get obviously an Artisan for the Frillish Retreat and attack. But because my opponent is playing Typhlosion, they don't really need a lot of items to keep the deck going. All Johnny needed turn 2 was an out to Quilava, and then Quilava gets Ethan's, and then you can evolve the Bench Cyndaquil into Quilava, and then that gets a guy, that gets a guy, and so then it kind of gets the whole ball rolling on the Typhlosions. So Johnny's able to hit me for 40 here with the combustion, which maybe is wrong just because it gives me Monkey Dory damage to play around with. But yeah, I do get the Frillish off of the Artisan attach, and then I go Bravery Charm on the Mew just so that it has a little bit more survivability on going into the following turns. With 230 HP, it's going to make it so that I believe Johnny needs 4 Ethans in the discard pile. If he has 3, it does 180 with the attack on Typhlosion, plus the 40 is 220. So now with me being 230, he's going to need all 4 of those Ethan's Adventure plus a counter catcher to be able to knock me out. And it's going to be pretty unlikely that Johnny gets like the full wham bam combo on me this turn, especially under the item lock. Obviously, I know we can get into Typhlosion, but I'm okay going down a prize versus this deck. I just need another turn to kind of set up my board. The key versus this deck is kind of just a Monkey Dory to take a cheese prize eventually in the game, and then you can kind of just keep it rolling from there. It's really tough for Typhlosion to keep up with that additional pressure of, you know, taking a bunch of knockouts with the one prizers that trade with their one prizers, but their one prize attacker is a stage 2. Your one prize attacker is not a stage 2. So you can kind of avoid putting a 2 prizer in the active. So I'm going to promote Mew here because I do have those 4 damage counters on there. So I don't want to put additional damage counters on my board. And let's see, I'm able to get to the Gardevoir Gia or EX here. And then I Artisan for Drifloon because Drifloon's going to be able to trade very well into these Typhlosion decks. So definitely a nice attacker to have. And then I'm just going to slam Iono here, get 6 more cards. I do believe I get the second Gardevoir here. I'm not mistaken. Okay, maybe I am mistaken. Maybe I don't get it on this turn. But yeah, I'm able to use the Mew EX. I'm going to put 3 damage counters on Zorua. So this is going to pressure that Zorua to evolve into Zoroark, breaking Johnny's one prize board state here. And yeah, he's going to keep these Typhlosions rolling. Gets the Picnic Basket, which is really nice here. And it's going to be able to make my Drifloon only do 90 damage on the following turn, which is obviously not enough to knock out a Typhlosion. If I'm able to get another damage counter onto the Drifloon, at least, you know, I can do 200 damage, which is going to be able to knock out Typhlosion, but it's definitely annoying just to have to commit that extra resource here. And so Johnny goes, oh, I'm going to play counter catcher. I'm like, Johnny, we're both at 5. And he's like, oh, you're right. So maybe the Picnic Basket is a little bit wasted there. Maybe if he was able to combo it later in the game with like an Iono plus Picnic Basket when I had like a Scream Tail with a bunch of energy on it or a Drifloon, it would have been a really nice swing in Johnny's favor. But yeah, I think they're looking for Zoroark here to kind of get more draws down. They bench the Pheasantipity. I think they just want to establish more of a board here. But I think they find out here that their last Cyndaquil is prized, so that they're not able to get another attacker down, which is looking pretty scary with only 1 Typhlosion on the board going into his next turn. It's going to be pretty rough to chain attackers here. So let's see, I promote Gardevoir because I now have 0 damage counters on my board. I'm able to get another monkey down. If I attach a dark to this, I'm able to put 6 damage counters onto Johnny's board. So I'm looking at his board, I'm like, okay, well, if I knock out Typhlosion, he gets 3 draws off Fez. And then, you know, if he has a boss's order, it could get a little bit scary for me. But I think for now, I just want to eliminate as many attackers as possible from his board. Because, you know, if Johnny can't attack me, he can't win. So I get the Scream Tail here. And I think Scream Tail plus 1 damage counter is going to be how maybe I want to knock out this Typhlosion. I can put 1 damage counter on Typhlosion because this Gardevoir is going to take 4 damage or 40 damage, you know, from the damage counters from the ability. So then I can move 1 over to Typhlosion, and then I can use the other 3 to put on either Zorua or the Pheasantipity to set it up for a knockout later. Because I do still have Super Rod in the deck, I can Super Rod back Scream Tail and Drifloon to use as additional attackers later. And then, yeah, this Scream Tail is going to get 80 damage. And then I'm going to use my counter catcher here to bring up Zorua. So if Johnny wants to retreat it, he's going to have to commit an energy to it and not to another Cyndaquil. So yeah, I'm able to put 30 damage on the Pheasantipity and then knock out the bench Typhlosion. Johnny draws the Shaman a little bit late here. That Shaman on the last turn would have definitely been nice. I could have, I guess I would have changed my play a little bit because I would have had to just attack the active Pokemon. Put 30 damage on Pheasantipity, but thankfully for me, the Shaman does not stop the damage from the Pheasant or from Scream Tail onto Pheasantipity because it only stops Rule Box Pokemon. And now Johnny evolved into his Zoroark GX here. He got the Air Balloon, so he's gonna be able to thin out a couple more cards from his deck, making his deck pretty tiny here. But the bad thing is that he does have a 2 prizer in play now. Draws the Secret Box off the Zoroark, which is pretty nice to be able to kind of let him do whatever he wants on this turn. And yeah, now that Johnny has 2 prizers on the board, I can potentially just take 2 more knockouts to win the game here. Although it is unlikely because both my Bravery Charms are down. I'm not going to be able to use the Scream Tail or the Drifloon to take like 1 giant damage knockout onto like this Zoroark or onto Pheasantipity if the Pheasantipity gets healed by something like a Turo. And yeah, Johnny's going to get the Sacred Ash here, which is really nice to be able to refill his Typhlosion line. I don't know if he needs that many Typhlosions left to win the game, so putting back like the whole 5 is pretty hefty.
Seamless!
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh
I don't know.
Drew!
Yeah, I'm a little bit in danger here.
Fortunately for me, my camera dies in the middle of recording, but thankfully this week I did remember my backup battery, so I'm able to keep the recording going for you guys. So I get that Super Rod, and I'm going to put back a bunch of one-prizers here. Actually, I just put back the Screamtail, and I'm able to grab the Screamtail off that Artisan that's in play, and I'm just going to do the same thing again. So we're just going to retreat into the Gardevoir, or retreat Gardevoir into Screamtail, put 8 damage. Well, that should have 8 damage counters on it. That's a little bit of a flub. And then, yeah, Johnny reminds me, yep, it's only 8 because I can't count. And then I'm going to use these damage counters. I'm going to put 20 on the Shaman and knock out this Pheasantipity. So now this way, I have double Gardevoir down, plus a Shaman with a bunch of damage on it, or plus the Screamtail with damage on it. So there's nothing really Johnny here can knock out that's going to solidify him game at 4 prizes. And it's going to be really rough to just, like, knock out pretty much anything here, because I think I'm threatening just game on board unless Johnny knocks out one of my Monkey Dories. But Monkey Dories is a pretty easy Pokemon to recur, and it would only put him at 3 prizes, so then I would take a knockout, go to 1, he would still be at 3, so regardless of what he knocked out on the following turn, I would be able to take a knockout with the Gardevoir or EX. So yeah, we see the Brave Bangle hit the Typhlosion, and then Johnny's only route here is really to just take 2 prize knockouts. So he's looking for like maybe a boss's order onto Gardevoir for a knockout here, or the Mew EX, and then hopefully from there I'm not able to string together another knockout. He's going to attack my Gardevoir, which I think maybe it's right to attack Mew there because I already do have a second Gardevoir in play, but then maybe you just want to keep the energy locked up. So I'm thinking, I'm like, how do I have game here? Because I can't really knock out this Typhlosion. I need to use the 6 damage counters to knock out the Shaman, and this is where getting that energy stuck is pretty bad for me. But I'm thinking, I was like, okay, well, I need to either get, which I think this is maybe the misplay here, is I didn't put back that Drifloon last turn, but I think I only have access to 2 energy, so I need the Clefairy damaged for game. So I need to draw an energy card to win the game. So where I mess up here is that, see, there's a Cynical hiding under that Brave Bangle, so I only counted enough damage to be able to KO, like, with this extra Monkey Ping. But I actually don't even need it. I could just move 6 damage counters, Screamtail, knock it out, and then there's still 8 bench Pokemon to be able to do 180, because, you know, Clefairy's need 20 for each, so if my bench has 5 Pokemon, it's 100 damage, plus the 20 damage from Clefairy is 120, and then 140, 160, 180 is exactly enough. So I count again, and I'm like, oh, wait, there's a Cynical under that Cynical, isn't there? I'm just thinking here for a second, because, like, I don't see this Cynical hiding under the Bangle. I'm like, bro, what's going on here, bruv? And I'm like, oh wait, there's a Cyndaquil here. There you go. See, I can count. So I retreat, boom, attach Clefairy, 24, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, and then bang, Typhlosion dies. Alright, getting to this final round of Swiss, it's actually going to be a Jelly Gardy mirror. We're probably on like the same like 56, 57-ish cards, and this is a very weird game. Caleb kind of struggles early in the game to find his energy cards, and I kind of struggle to find everything else. I do find a good amount of Pokemon early in the game, but I really struggle to find one of my Curlias here. Unfortunately, I realized about midway through the game that one of my Curlias is prized, which is pretty bad, considering that in the Jelly Mirror, you really want to just hard draw one of your Curlias. And you see right here, I open my Curlia, but I believe I get Iono on the following turn, which is pretty bad. So, yeah, I'm going to use my searching cards here and just kind of look through my deck. It's pretty important to check your prizes in the Jelly Guardian Mirror, just because it's such a volatile mirror. And I think I get a Arven here. Oh, yeah, I open Arven. So I'm going to get that Air Balloon. I'm going to get that Nest Ball. And I Nest Ball for a Frillish. I kind of want to just establish this item lock as soon as possible. And I think because my opponent already has like the full board of the Frillish plus the Ralt, is maybe right there to play the Artisan to just kind of thin my deck. And if you look at my hand, unfortunately my opponent kind of Ionos me into a bunch of nothing here. I'm just going to play Arven to thin my deck 2 cards that I can't play, because I can't play any items or tool cards, unfortunately. My only saving grace here really is that Caleb doesn't open an energy card, so I'm able to just get another, I was like, Oh yeah, you can't play tools either. I just always think Gardy is or Jelly is just items, but yeah, I'm just gonna go for the attack again with the Jellicent, and yeah, my opponent gets this Lilies here, and I'm like hoping I was like, okay, as long as he doesn't get a Curlia, maybe I'm fine. My hand has a bunch of items, so I'm hoping to maybe top deck like another supporter. And my opponent gets the energy here to attach to the Jellicent, and then it's a pass. I look at my hand, it's just another item, so I just go for another Gloom. I draw, I look, my hand is pretty terrible. I go to sack my Frillish here, or my Screamtail here, and Kale's actually just going to pass. Pretty smart play here to not put any damage on my board. And we just kind of go back and forth to see who kind of breaks the stalemate. And we're kind of just seeing who draws Curlia first. I think I draw Lily's Determination there. I'm going to just shuffle my whole deck, get that other Ralts down, and I'm just hoping, I'm like, please, bro, just give me a Curlia. And I get kind of like a bunch of nothing again. And yeah, Caleb eventually draws the Dark Energy here just to kind of get the knockout onto my Screamtail. My hand's like pretty much a bunch of nothing here, and then Iono into another bunch of nothing here, which I'm like really hoping. I was like, oh man, please just let me draw this Curlia. If I'm able to draw Curlia, then I can get a pretty good established board here if I can be able to evolve into Gardevoir, because my Caleb's not item locked here, so it's pretty nice for him. If he just rips Rare Candy Gardy, like the game is like almost over for me. So I draw the 6 cards of Pheasantipity, draw 3, still no out to Curly, unfortunately. I'm gonna go for the Mind Bend here onto the Jellicent, which is my like saving grace here. I need Caleb to either like flip tails or yeah, just be able to not knock me out. And I draw my hand. It's a couple supporters, so at least I'm able to, kind of thin my deck more. Caleb flips the tails, putting some more damage on that Jellicent. And I'm thinking, I was like, well, maybe it's just a mind bend party at this rate. So if Caleb flips tails here, then I'm able to actually knock him out on the following turn with the Monkey Dory mind bend. If he knocks me out, it's pretty bad because it's my only dark energy in play. But Caleb's up so many prize cards already that it's like very unfortunate. I think maybe him just wanting to get the high roll to keep it in play is good. But yeah, I'm able to break the item lock and finally draw my Curlia. Unfortunately for me, I think my Curlia here is going to get knocked out by this benched Screamtail. Yep. See the 2 energy come down from Screamtail, 3 damage goes into Curlia, and then it's going to get knocked out. But thankfully, because I still have such a high concentration of items in my deck, I'm kind of able to play the game now. But it's still looking pretty rough. I mean, my opponent's at 2 prizes, I'm at 4, so I'm going to need to find 2 cheese monkey kills here, which, isn't impossible because I do already have 1 monkey with a dark, and then I have this monkey on the bench that has a psychic energy attached to it. And I'm going to go for the secret box here to get my rare candy, a bravery charm, and I'm just kind of looking for the lilies here, just another draw supporter. So I get the rare candy plus the Gardy, and unfortunately because I do have this air balloon on my Gardy, I'm not able to get like those full pivot damage counters, and it's going to be pretty tough to want to commit another Ralts to the board because I probably just need to commit I probably just need to commit like another attacker here or just another copy of the Monkey Dory. And so I think I play Night Stretcher here, and I'm debating whether to go for Frillish or Screamtail. But I think on this turn, I just kind of want to knock out his Monkey Dory with Dark Energies. Because I think if I can out-monkey his damage, I can potentially still win this game. So yeah, I get the other Dark Energy to be able to attach to my Monkey Dory here. And I think I actually have a game-losing misplay on this turn. All right, and so this game-losing misplay because, again, my camera dies, so I have to switch the battery over. Maybe I'll look into a bigger battery for the future, but let's see. On this turn, I'm going to use the damage from my Monkey Dory to move over to his Monkey Dory with the Dark Energy, and then use my Screamtail to knock out his. But my opponent is able to retreat out this Gardevoir because I do counter catcher it up. But for some reason, my opponent benches the Mew here, which maybe because I used the counter catcher, they were able to bench the Mew. But now on this turn, it's a little bit interesting because you would assume that a Jelly Guardy list could potentially play 2 counter catcher. So I think benching a Mew here is like also a game losing misplay for my opponent, right? Because now I'm at 2 prizes. They have no way of knocking out my Pheasantipity this turn because they don't have enough energy to do so. And if they were to get to a number close enough, I don't think they would want to, because then I could just Monkey Dory, ping the Screamtail, go to 2 prizes, and then if now I have, another way to gust, I can just gust up this Mew and KO it. So I think Caleb maybe it wasn't realizing he was losing to the second counter catcher. Unfortunately for him, or unfortunately for me, I only play the 1 in this build, so I actually don't have another Gust in my deck. But I think that this Mew is probably a bad bench. If you assume that I'm playing like a normal Jelly Gardy list, which they fluctuate between 1 and 2, so maybe you take the gamble, I only have 1 to kind of disrupt my whole hand, but really drawing like 1 card off the Mew doesn't seem like a super necessary gamble, especially because on this next turn, if like let's say for some odd reason, like my opponent takes a KO on my board and then I bench Shaman and promote Gardevoir, now it's going to be really rough for you to get through my Gardevoir with almost no energy in play. And then if I'm able to maybe tank 1 turn with a Gardevoir, bench Shaman, then maybe I can swing the game into my favor by putting 250 damage on your board. So we'll see how this final turn plays out. But I think I do actually have another misplay. So this Monkey Dory on it currently has 40 damage. And I go into my turn. Caleb has 1 prize left. If I were to put 1 more damage counter on my board here, flub the turn before, so I actually don't believe I have a win condition here, but I am trying to think through it. You know, it's for the finals, and this is the last turn, so we kind of just both agree to take a little bit longer. I know I can't really bench a Frillish either, because Frillish is going to get knocked out by just a Gardevoir, so I'm just going to put down this Monkey Dory, and I'm going to just say, okay, well, let's see what I can do from here. I can retreat into my Gardevoir, potentially put like 3 energy on it. Unfortunately, because I didn't put the damage counter on the following turn, I'm not able to put enough damage counters on the Screamtail on this turn, right? So let's see. If I were to use 1 more ability, right, and I put 1 energy onto this Gardevoir last turn, this Gardevoir would have 2 damage counters. Last turn I could have moved 2 to this. Screamtail would have had 60 damage on it. Now Screamtail's 140 hit points with a Bravery Charm attached, so the 90 plus the 50 is 140, minus 60 is going to be 80. So with triple Monkey Ping, I'm able to kill the Screamtail here, and then use the Gardevoir to knock out Monkey Dory. And then my opponent's board is Gardy Mew, Gardy Monkey from my 1 prize card to their 1 prize card. So they would need to find a rescue stretcher for or night stretcher for game to use a Screamtail to knock out one of my benched Pokemon. Now, if they don't find this night stretcher on the following turn, I can potentially win with like a retreat plus Monkey Dory pings onto this Monkey Dory, just because it doesn't have that much HP, and he doesn't know Dark Energy on his board currently. So then if I'm able to find a way to just load my board up with 6 energy, I can move over. I guess I need to put 4 energy on my board somehow, and then I can move 80 damage over to this Monkey Dory for knockout. So there actually was a win condition here, but I'm just kind of thinking, because I'm not able to move that extra damage counter over to the Screamtail, I just kind of scoop it up here, and yeah, my other Curly was prize. So whoops. So losing the finals to Jelly Guardy Mirror, definitely a weird game. I think both sides probably could play a little bit better, but that's what the point of these videos are, just to kind of live and learn and see how you can play better, because you always assume in the moment you're playing really well, but then you kind of watch it back and you see like little mistakes that you've made.